Evening. Welcome back.
Welcome to another Tokyo House Party, and we have an extra special guest to start.
Very, very briefly, she is very unhappy about these circumstances. So, but I did want to give an opportunity for the other one in our family, Luna, to say hello, as well as Momo being here.
Yeah, Momo's clearly checked out of reality and she's just here, but Luna is on the other planet of unhappiness. But how old's Luna now?
Very close to a year. She's got to be like 10 months.
Oh man,
Yeah.
so cute.
So, in that said, I'm going to put her away before she cries any longer. So I'll be right back while you take the lead here.
Okay, sounds good. Well, while Derek says goodbye to Luna, and it's really too bad, we are here with another Tokyo House Party. For everyone who hasn't been here before, hajimemashite. For everyone who's joining us again, of course, hisashiburi. It's so nice to see you. It's been 1 month, and we are here with a super special night. We're always here with a special night, right? This is Mahou Shoujo month, and it might be a little bit outside the box of what you might think of for magical girls or Mahou Shoujo. But there will be a whole slew of magical girls in discussion today, both live and in memory. So that's kind of where we're headed to. And I'm also going to let this magical Momo, Mahou Shoujo Momo, take her leave as well. And maybe Derek can give a few more updates as I just drop her off and she'll run away forever.
Just yeah, thanks. Thanks for holding the banner there for a sec. As far as updates, I don't even know what's in the realm of things that we can share. We have some really cool upcoming episodes that I think people can get excited for. Can we talk about our big episode with like the convention stuff?
I think so.
I
Hey,
think so.
Techno Yogi.
Okay. Techno Yogi, hello. Yoroshiku. Yes, we do have a really cool episode in store, along with ASIN Anime Central. For those of you who are in and out of Chicago, you're probably already familiar with that space. So that is another really great one to look forward to. And then some other cool things in store. You will start to see more of one of our other collaborators, Casper, join in on the show in the future to do some hosting while I start to take a little bit of a backseat and handle a little bit of technical things. And so get excited for Casper. Casper's been in the chat and is a really great individual, and they will be sharing some cool conversations here as well.
Yeah, I think you can find them in chat as Retrofort. Oh,
That yay
yep.
me.
I felt like your spider senses must have been tingling. But yeah, so next episode you will definitely see a reprise of Casper, whom you've seen in other episodes actually, especially around Japanese pro wrestling. But yeah, and I guess that kind of extends to everyone else in the Tokyo House Party team that doesn't necessarily make their face visible on the show. Robbie and Sai. We have a new helper named Anna who will be helping us with social media. So shout out to everybody who's really helped us all along.
Thanks, y'all.
And I don't know if y'all are subscribed to our newsletter, but if you are, we sent out one yesterday that has a really great survey in it. And we're kind of continuing to build Tokyo House Party with everyone. So if you haven't looked in your inbox for that email, take a peek at that survey. Go ahead and fill it out. We'll have some really interesting invites and updates. And if you have any thoughts about the future of Tokyo House Party, what you want to see in Tokyo House Party, all of that stuff, that's the space for it. And I really hope you guys jump into it. We'll send it again next month, and just in case you're not subscribed yet. And to that end, you should subscribe to this channel, right? That's what you're gonna miss. Oh,
Second with
Derek's
me.
not gonna be gone
I'm not going to be
forever.
gone forever.
Yeah, but subscribe to the channel, and then all those subscriptions are what brings Derek back to the.
Yes, yeah. When I'd say backseat, it's sort of a small hiatus. There's a lot of ongoing family and life changes that are happening. It's been an incredibly busy year for all good reasons, and so you may not see my face here, but I will still be interacting in and without the space as much as possible. So it's not completely.
Yeah, just hiatus, right?
Hi.
Hiatus. Yes. That said, I think I could just ramble forever about all these new things we're doing. And I think, as they start to unfold, you'll all be pretty jazzed for them. But again, as Derek mentioned, May 22nd will be our Anime Central episode. You won't want to miss that. We'll be doing a lot of different things, doing cultural programs. So you can see all kinds of Japanese cultural events throughout that weekend. We'll have a lot of really cool local restaurants talking about how you can make some of their dishes at home, things you just won't want to miss. So definitely start giving us follows so you can kind of get those updates. Follow us on social media. That's the Japanese Arts Foundation on Instagram, as well as our Facebook, and a partridge in a pear tree. I think I should share my screen.
Fire away.
Cool. Just a moment.
Well, that's getting out there. We also have a Twitter that is stirring about, and I would encourage following, putting that on your list of other spaces to follow.
Okay, it's gonna get weird when I share my screen. I can see it's gonna like make this very meta for a second. I'm very sorry.
Wherever's
We're here. Okay, so while my screen is like this, I can't see what's in chat. So Derek, I'm just gonna lean on him extra hard. If you all have questions or things you want to say, do it.
got you covered.
But yeah, so if you didn't catch our newsletter and you haven't been following us on social media, maybe tonight's a surprise for you, but probably not. This is the Mahou Shoujo month on Tokyo House Party. And tonight we invited contemporary Japanese and Japanese American women artists living in the United States to discuss a moment or a movement in Japanese history that explores feminism in Japan. So each artist will be considering a different historical moment that directly influences their perspective and artistic direction. Later, each artist will join us in another conversation exploring their views and responses to magical girls. This is the theme of the show, and contemporary feminism in the in Japanese American experience in the United States. So once again, after all of our guests wrap their segments, they'll be returning, and we'll welcome them all back at the same time at the end of the show, so we can have like a bit of an open dialogue with everyone. So stick around for that if your questions don't get answered in real time, but still ask questions in real time. We look at them. So, and I'm sure, as you all can imagine, Japanese history is seldom told from a woman's perspective. I mean, what history really ever is. But women can feel largely kind of omitted from the narratives told in history books, historical texts, and even storytelling, where if we do find women, they're often ghosts, foxes, demons, or supporting characters to their male counterparts, right? So, moving forward, we'll be kind of going through time with each artist, hearing from a new perspective and a new history as we go. So, you can kind of feel this linear path that we're on as we're going through the night. And to kind of get us started, actually, before that, don't forget that our night will also wrap with Van Paugam. He has a very special Sailor Moon themed city pop set later at 9. So, that's always something you can count on. But I wanted to give a little bit of foundational background since we're spanning a whole lot of history today. Please know we're going to be glossing over a bunch because, these are specific moments in time that we'll be exploring, so we can't provide all the context. But before our first guest comes on, I wanted to give just a little bit of primer on some of the very early Japanese history and how women were or weren't involved. So before 500 CE, when Buddhism was introduced into the islands, history's a little difficult to speak to, just due to the lack of texts and records of quote unquote what would have been Japan. However, we do have our Jomon period hunter-gatherer dogu clay figures. So, and they clearly acknowledge women in that society. This is known as the Jomon Venus, but there are so many figures just like this. And so acknowledgement to women in society and their importance has been around even before text could explain what they were about. And this one actually came from the Nagano, a Nagano burial site, just if anyone's curious where these particularly come from, but they were found all over. I just chose one. There's so many, truly. If you're interested in these Dogu figures, there's a plethora. And so I'm going to jump even much further ahead in history to note that there is no text to kind of explain these figures. So most of what we know about these women in this moment is a bit of speculation, but what's happened is they've been interpreted through these texts that have been foundational to Japan, something like some religious texts that you might find from other cultures, and the first one being the Kojiki. I don't know if anyone in tech or in chat has heard of the Kojiki. And on top here is like an older version of what it would have looked like as a manuscript, but I wanted to let everyone know you can actually get your hands on this now if you're interested in looking into it. This is a book on Amazon, but there's a bunch of different translations. And I want to note that when you buy a translated book, you can see that often there's many different translators. And we're talking about who's telling history. The translator also has a perspective to give to any work. So if you are really interested in a topic, you can read multiple translations and find lots of different things hiding in each person's voice. Not going to say you have to, but just throwing it out there.
You'll learn different naming conventions for those localizations and translations too.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you can always look at when they were published too to see if this is the most recent translation,
Yeah.
what new ideas have come about, what kinds of translations have been improved on since that one was written. I'm digressing hard. But yeah, so the Kojiki, the record of ancient matters and account of ancient matters, is probably the oldest text that is used in the Japanese mythological kind of narrative. And, I think some people would say that 712 is pretty late in terms of a historical text, but the Quran was only written about 100 years before, so just saying. But of course, in comparison to things like some of the Egyptian texts, which were thousands of years before Common Era, this does feel kind of late. But those figures we saw in the past, it's through the stories and the information in these particular and this one textbooks. Oh, that top image looks terrible. I'm so sorry. So pixelated. But the Nihon Choki or the Nihongi is another text that came out just shortly after the Kojiki. And these two texts together really kind of set us up for most of the values and traditions that are expressed through Shinto, which, I want to make a note about Shinto that it was pretty scattered. It's basically in its original state, whatever someone did in their own place and time, wherever they were located within the islands. And then it wasn't until after World War II where those ideas really became solidified as state Shinto. So the kind of like core standards of what these things mean were defined over time, not just from these textbooks. Just a note. So moving forward. And the reason I really wanted to bring these up is I believe that our first guest is definitely going to touch on this history and explain a little bit more about this particular character. But this is a character that will come up throughout our conversations today. And I really want to make sure that we have a foundational understanding of them. And that's Amaterasu. Has anyone in chat ever heard of Amaterasu?
Definitely tell us where you've heard Amaterasu.
Where have you seen them if you've seen them? I think what's interesting about Amaterasu is so, of course, from this image, you might be able to gather that she is the sun goddess, the daughter of deities Izanagi and Izanami, who our next guest is going to talk about in great detail. And she's very central to the Shinto religion. Any emperor or anyone who has some kind of divine right to rule in Japan all gets this kind of privilege from having a direct descendant to Amaterasu. And this is really important because Amaterasu is probably the most revered kami or Shinto deity in the Shinto pantheon. And it's a woman, and she is the sun goddess. And kind of thinking about how important the sun is in Japanese culture, I mean, where are some other places you've seen the sun in Japan as an emblem? Anyone?
Let us know.
I can always, hint at it. What about the flag, right? What about the Japanese flag? Have you heard the term the rising sun, the land of the rising sun? The sun is really important. The sun is mirrors are very important in Shinto mythology, but basically it is not a stretch to say that Amaterasu is one of the most important founding deities of Japan. It was her son that actually, Emperor Jimmu was the person who founded Japan later in time. But just to note that this really important foundational figure in Japanese mythology and history is a woman. So as surprising as that is, I don't think you find that too often in other cultural contexts. So I think that's really important to note. Plus, we will talk about them again. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to add. Oh, yes. And you know me, like to cite my sources. So this is a really wonderful book that I could only find terribly pixelated, so I've written it out here too. This is a somewhat recent publication about women in Japanese religions. I highly recommend it. Barbara Ambrose is amazing, and this book is very easy to read, and it gives you lots of details about where you can find women all the way from Shinto to Buddhism and beyond. So wonderful book, wonderful read. You can find all those details there. It's on Amazon. So, without further ado, I'd love to introduce Hanukkah O'Leary. So, Hanukkah, I actually know personally because we went to grad school together. So it's such a lovely opportunity to share some more space with her. Hanukkah was born and raised by her Japanese mother and American father. She grew up roaming the suburbs of Chicago. Every year for 2 months during the summer holiday, her mother would take her and her siblings back to their ancestral home in Hiroshima, Japan. These summers were spent learning how to cook, clean, and honor her ancestors from her four aunts, Nagako, Nobuko, Atsuko, and Masuko. Hanako attended this annual pilgrimage until the year she turned 18, and these summer months would deeply influence her spiritual beliefs, artistic voice, and feminine ideals. Spending most of her life on American soil, but always under a Japanese matriarchy, Hanako learned to bridge these identities through art, uh, employing traditional Japanese imagery to narrate her contemporary American story. And I could give you a little synopsis about what Hanako will be speaking of, but that seems redundant at this point. Let's just welcome Hanako, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Alrighty. To be on her way. Sorry.
Go.
Sorry, wrong. Grabbed the wrong person from the waiting room. Zoom is a challenging paradox. There we are. Hello.
Hello.
Hanako, welcome.
Hey, thanks.
So Hanako's joining us all the way from Portland, though I did just say that.
Seattle.
No?
Seattle.
Seattle. Just kidding. Portland's been on my mind. Yes, Seattle. That is where we shared space at one time. But yeah, Hanako's joining us all the way from Seattle, though I had just said that she had wandered the suburbs of Chicago. So, Hanako, tell us a little bit more about yourself and about your work and what brings us together today.
Yeah. Hey. Am I giving the actual talk now?
You might. It's up to you. Choose your own adventure. Sure.
Okay. So yeah, my name's Hanako. I'm predominantly a ceramic sculptor living here in Seattle. Been here for 10 years now, but I'm originally from Barrington, Illinois, which is a northwest suburb of Chicago. And yeah, I'm here to talk about Izanami, who is she's Japan's first Mahou Shoujo, and my work that I make around her mythology. So,
yeah. Do you think you could tell everyone a little bit about who that is and that kind of?
yeah. Do you want? So like, I have this like 30-minute PowerPoint.
Yosh, let's do it.
Let's jump in.
Should I just like launch into it?
Dive
Unless
in.
you just like to jive with us for a minute, we're open to all things.
It's casual. It's conversational. Yeah, whatever suits best. So we can definitely shoot it first or jump right into things.
Okay. I mean, I guess I could just like launch into it. Because I mean, I could tell you about who Izanami is and stuff, but then I would just be like going over the same information.
Yeah.
Cool.
Go
all
for
right.
it.
That sounds great. And just knowing that Hanako is really building on some of the things we just talked about. So if you have questions, you can drop them in chat. And yeah, we'll take it away with Hanako.
Okay, cool. Give me a minute here.
I did ask chat if there were any other if anybody has caught any other representations of Amaterasu in other forms of media, but none of you replied.
It's interesting. I did a little bit of research on Izanami and the other forms of media that she shows up in. And the one that I found that comes up after, the more like art historical, stuff is it's the biggest Google search was from like Naruto. Because I think like Izanami and Izanagi is some sort of like ninjutsu trick.
So it sounds about right.
Which I thought was kind of cool. I never watched Naruto, so I got to catch up on what that really means, but I thought it was interesting.
They do some very I'll say quickly, they do some very surface level but but fun reinterpretations of a lot of different deities as well as mythological characters throughout some of those other stories as well.
Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
We can see it.
Okay, cool. So then I guess I'll just go ahead and start.
Let's do it.
行きましょう。
はい。
Okay, 行きましょう。はい、はじめまして皆さん。私の名前は花子。Hanukkah O'learyです。Hey everybody, my name's Hanukkah. Yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm an artist here in Seattle. I'm going to tell you today about the goddess Izanami. But before I launch into that, I do want to give you guys a little bit of background about myself to like set context of how this body of work began. So before I go into the story of Izanami, the Mahou Shoujo, I kind of wanted to share a little bit about the Mahou Shoujo, the magical women of my own life that influenced who I am today. And so I first want to introduce my grandmother, Enzan Hatsuko, who was part of the first generation of women to graduate med school. And she became a physician, and with my grandfather, started a hospital in the island town of Osaki Kamijima, which is like right outside of Hiroshima. And her with my grandfather, they built a hospital and were very active during World War II and were first responders during the atomic bombings, as well as all the fire bombings that was going on during the war. And then she also went on to give birth to 8 children, the 7th of which was my mother, Enzan Sumiko, who during a time where arranged marriage was very common and all of her 4 sisters went through arranged marriage, she decided that wasn't the path she was interested in and moved out to Tokyo and started working for Fuji Terebi, which is like a pretty well-known TV station there, and had a thriving career in television, but then met my dad, was like a super broke student, but fell in love and then moved out to quit her job and then moved out to Wisconsin, of all places, where she started her family, and then I came along. And so I was raised in this family structure with a mother who wanted her children to be just as Japanese as they were American. And so while I spent most of my childhood, you know, in the Midwest, in Wisconsin and in Illinois, every summer for about 10 weeks, I would go back to Japan with my mother and my siblings and live with my grandparents in Osaki. And so Osaki is this very small island town, super rural. The average age of the population there has been probably like 70 for a really long time.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, so this is like an image right here on the right that's like basically right outside my grandpa's house. There's like a giant canal that's connected to the ocean going through it, and a lot of stuff functions on whether like the tide is in or out. This image of the rock on the right is one of the gods of the island. And so you can't see, but just like outside this picture, there's like a cliff edge where it's recorded in the town ledgers as far back as 400 CE. The town archers would stand off the ledge and shoot bows or shoot arrows at incoming pirates to protect the island. And so it was like a very important defense point. And so because that rock was there, like watching over the island and making sure it was protected from pirates, it's now considered a god. And so this is kind of the environment that I spent a lot of my formative childhood years in. And along with that, going back to Japan during the summer, especially as someone from Hiroshima, was very important because this is when we would honor the lives lost during the atomic bomb. And so every summer for 18 years, I went to go Toro Nagashi at the Memorial Peace Park. It's also a very important time in Buddhist culture because it's the time of Obon, which is a celebration of our ancestors, because it's believed that this is when they'll come back to visit us. And so with my grandparents, as well as my mom's 4 sisters pictured here, my aunties Nagako, Atsuko, Nobuko, and Masako, they would make sure that I knew how to cook, to clean, how to prayer correctly, how to go ohaka mairi correctly, how to be a proper Japanese woman. And so within this environment, it was very like deeply instilled in me the power of the Mahou of femininity, Japanese femininity, and how important it is in sustaining a strong family. Mm. So skip forward a bunch of years, past art school, I move out to Seattle and start pursuing my career as an artist. And here I started working under the pseudonym Hanya Girl. And until I moved out to Seattle, I had no idea what a Hanya was. I'd never heard of it before, but I was very familiar with this image because it is very popular within tattoo culture, especially like traditional Yakuza tattoo culture. The Hanya is like super important. But I always just thought it was an oni because I'd see it all the time in Western culture, incorporated as part of the kind of like the Asian Oriental look. And so like if you Google Hanya, like you can find a lot of like just Hanya products. Here's like a Amazon Hanya mask you can buy for your like paintball games or airsoft games. And then also we have too, like this image has been incorporated into Western tattoo culture. And so like, if you go into any tattoo shop, you'll see flash of Hanyas done by the artists in residence, no matter where they're from. And so I was really struck when I found out that the Hanya mask actually originates from Japanese no theater. And it represents the characteristic or the archetype of a woman who throughout the storyline, you know, so many misfortunes happen to her that she becomes overwhelmed with emotion and her soul escapes her body premature to death. And so she has this like soulless mortal body roaming the earth, hungry for revenge. And so basically like this expression represents a woman's suffering. And within the tradition of no theater, which is a very patrilineal one, so, you know, all no actors for a very long time, it's not this way anymore, but until very recently, we're all men. It was a craft that was passed down from father to son. And the same could be said for the stories that were written for the stage, as well as all of the artisans creating the masks and costumings. And so within the tradition of no mask carving, and these no masks are like crafted out of wood. It's like this very beautiful tradition. The Hanya mask was always reserved for the master carver in the family. So like usually the most senior member, because it was believed that to be able to capture the full breadth of feminine emotion, of female suffering in one face. So everything from hysterical laughter to deep sadness to demonic rage, to get that all encompassed into one face, one would have to have lived a very rich life and been very wise and knowing of the human condition. And so like knowing all of that deep meaning behind this one face really, I guess really struck me because, you know, this is such an iconic image, but it's born out of a culture where basically the women's response to that culture was feared, because anytime a woman expressed any kind of like pushback or expressed any kind of like negative reaction to the world that was set up around her, like that pushback was so threatening that it now became this like, in the imagination of men, this like demonic, powerful force that needed to be shut down. And the idea that this image was recreated generation after generation, from like passed down from father to son, but not allowed to be expressed from women, from Japanese women like myself who actually go through these emotions. I felt like very compelled to take on that idea and use it for my own expression. And so this is an aspect of Mahou Shoujo and like the magic of women that I really needed to like make my own. And so I started, you know, as I was dabbling in the arts and figuring out what my medium was, I was doing like comic book art, more kind of like performance-based stuff, painting, while I was like exploring ukiyo-e. But then eventually I got a residency at a clay studio, like where I am right now at Pottery Northwest. And I started my series Izanami in 2018. And so now we finally get into Mahou Shoujo Izanami's story. So I'm gonna kind of like dip back into story time. So Izanami is one of the first beings of creation in Japan in the Shinto pantheon. Her name also in Old Japanese translates to mean she who invites. And her story first pops up in the Kojiki, or the Record of Ancient Matters, which is basically like the first written like history of Japan. So I think it's kind of equivalent to like the Bible or like Homer's Odyssey or like the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's this like first written text, the mythological origins of this society, of Japanese society. And it was commissioned to be written by Empress Jingu in the year 700. And it's also used to justify the like, not just like the royal lineage, but like the celestial bloodline that the current Japanese monarchy is descendant of. And so in this story, one of the first stories is the story of Izanami and Izanagi. So the divine feminine, she who invites, and the divine masculine, he who invites. So it was believed that like way back in the day, before Japan existed, there was just like nothingness, and out of nothingness emerged these two divine feminine and divine masculine people. And they lived on top of a floating bridge that overlooked just like the empty cosmos. And they're hanging out on this bridge for a while, but eventually like they kind of got bored of just being next to each other on the bridge. So one day, Izanami suggested to Izanagi, hey Izanagi, what if you take that jeweled scepter of yours and then like used it to just like stab the goo and like mix it up? What do you think would happen? And then Izanagi was like, well, I don't really know what would happen. I've never done that before, but I guess we could try it. And so Izanami was like, yeah, try it, see what happens. So Izanagi takes his scepter, plunges it into the cosmic goo, and starts stirring vigorously until all of a sudden, out of the foam of the cosmos emerges the Japanese islands. And then now Izanagi and Izanami have a new home besides for just their floating bridge. So they're like, okay, let's go check out these new lands. And so they go there, they settle in, they build a house, they set up their Wi-Fi, they get comfortable. And then in the very traditional way that we mortals are familiar with, they fall in love, they come together, and Izanami, the divine feminine, accepts Izanagi, the divine masculine seed, and through her womb, she gives birth to the rivers, the oceans, the trees, all of the nature of Japan. One day, Izanami becomes pregnant with the god of fire. And in the process of giving birth to fire, her body is consumed by the flames. And without a body to live in, her soul gets sent down into the underworld. And so this is the first time ever in creation that someone experiences death. And Izanami is the first person ever to die. Izanagi, her lover, is the first person ever to experience grief and loss. And Izanagi, who is a god, the god of life, and used to having everything he wants, doesn't like this feeling, misses his lover. And so he decides, this isn't working for me. I want things to go back to how they were. I'm gonna go find Izanami and get her back here. And so he goes down underground beneath the world of the living and enters Yomi, the world of the dead, which also in English translates to mean the land of darkness and is what we understand in the West to be the underworld. And so he goes down into Yomi and starts calling, Izanami, where are you? Let's go back, I miss you. And then after roaming around in this like pitch blackness, he finally hears faintly, Izanagi, oh my God, it's been so long. I've missed you. You've come for me. And so Izanagi hears Izanami, gets really excited. He's like, oh my God, I'm so glad I found you. Listen, like, we need to go back up because this place is like kind of lame. Like, there's literally nothing here and it smells weird. Let's go.
It's the best context.
And smells like salty death down here. What's this about? And then Izanami is like, I know, Izanagi, it's like, it's definitely different. It's not like our home where we're used to. It's not the Rainbow Bridge. It's not, you know, the floating islands of Japan, but this is my new home now. And I like kind of signed a bunch of paperwork. I had dinner with management, went through orientation. Like, this is my new journey and I need to go do this. And then so Izanagi is like, okay, but like, what about your family? And like, what about us? I thought we were a team. Like, can we please just like go back and like hang out? Like, I have so many Netflix episodes I need to watch with you. And she's like, okay, you're right. I do miss you. Like, I think they really like me here. So like, I think we could probably work out a deal. Just like, you need to give me some time. I need to go talk to management. And she's like, okay, so I'm gonna go do that. But also, like, you need to know that, you know, you don't belong to this world. You're not supposed to be here right now. You could get me in a lot of trouble. So like, if you could please just be chill, like, don't make a mess, and whatever you do, don't turn on the lights. Like, nobody can know you're here. And so Izanagi is like, yeah, sure, whatever. I won't turn on the lights, but like, can we get this going? And so Izanami goes off to talk to management, work her deals, see what she can make happen. And then Izanagi, in the meantime, was like told he's not allowed to do anything. So he's just sitting around waiting and waiting and waiting for who knows how long. Like, his phone isn't getting any service. There's like nothing to look at. He's getting hungry. And so finally he's like, you know what? Izanami, like, she's got her divine feminine charms and like, she's like really good at making things happen for her, but she also takes forever because she's always like sitting and talking and listening. And like, sometimes it's just time for action. I think if I just like grab her and like run, we can get out of here faster. It's time for divine masculine action. It's time to just do the shit. And so Izanagi takes a comb out of his hair, a wooden comb, and with his fingers snaps it on fire. And now he has a torch. And now the land around him is illuminated. And now he sees that indeed he is in the land of death. And around him, he is surrounded by death. And amongst the dead is the corpse of his former lover, Izanami. And now Izanami, in the land of the living, was the most beautiful woman ever to exist. But in the land of the dead, she is now a corpse, and she's no longer a living woman, but a dying one going through the process of decomposition. And within her rotting corpse are the 7 demons of thunder feeding off her flesh. And he sees this and he's like, Izanagi's like, oh, wow, Izanami, like, you've really changed while you've been here. I think you're right. I think like this is your new journey. And like, I think that maybe I need to go return to mine. And so like, let's just like touch base, you know, after like a few quarters where like we've gone and we can catch up and reconnect. I'm gonna go, bye. And so he turns around and starts booking his way to the exit. Izanami's corpse rises from her you know, laying position, and she's like, wait, what? Also, like, why are the lights on? Also, this is a mess, Izanagi. Like, you can't just leave. Like, you have caused a major disturbance, and now it's my job to fix it. Like, no, you have to stay here and help me do this. And also, I can't let you just go back after seeing me like this. Like, I wasn't ready, and now you're gonna remember me as a corpse forever. Like, that's not fair. And so she starts chasing after Izanagi. Izanagi is like, he's done talking. He's getting out of here. And so he starts running. Izanami gathers all her girlfriends that she made while she was trying to like negotiate deals. And so she gathers her girlfriends who are remembered in history to be hell hags. And so Izanami and her hell hags start chasing Izanagi towards the exit. Izanagi, seeing that he's outnumbered here, takes the snacks, these magical peaches that he packed with him for his trip down to the underworld, and chucks them at the Hell Hags. The Hell Hags, while they're committed to Izanami, cannot resist the snack. So they all stop what they're doing to pick up the peaches, and then Izanagi is able to beat them just in the nick of time out into the world of the living. And he takes a giant boulder and blocks the entrance between Yomi and the living world, blocking Izanami down into the underworld forever. And after he catches a breath, he rests his head on this boulder and he says, "Oh, Izanami, you were so beautiful and I loved you so much. But I see we've entered different chapters of our lives and I'll never forget you." And Izanami answers from the other side, "Oh my God, Izanagi, you are being so selfish. Like, I cannot believe you just waltzed in here, like literally ruined everything. And then now you're just like leaving me here to fix this mess. I hate you. I am going to take 1,000 of your children and bring them down into the land of the dead every day. And they're going to help me fix this mess." And Izanagi says, "Well, Izanami, I'm really sorry you feel this way. But honestly, like you sound kind of crazy and like you have mad abandonment issues and it's not my problem. I'm the god of the living and all of creation will celebrate me and my powers to create 1,500 children every day. I'll never be lonely. And everyone's going to remember me as being awesome and you as being like kind of bitchy. Okay, bye." And so he turns around and goes to the ocean, where he, for the first time ever, completes the act of misogi, or is the ritual cleansing, where he washed his body free from the toxic filth of the land of Yomi, aka Izanami's territory. And while he was down there, he was like doing a lot of reflecting and a lot of self-work, and he started crying. And out of his right ears was born the goddess Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun. And then out of his left eyes and out of his left tears was born the goddess I always forget this god's name. Tsukiyomi, the god of the moon. And then he was crying so hard, he just blew his nose super hard, and then out of his nose was born the temperamental god Susano, god of the ocean. And with this new generation of gods, he had his new inner circle to help him keep building Japan. And they go off, they build Japan, and Izanagi is now celebrated as the ultimate patriarch of the Shinto pantheon. And to this day, people every year on the summer solstice celebrate Izanagi and his act of cleansing as they cleanse themselves from the wounds of being mortal in the ocean. And the act is called misogi. And so when I first came across this story, I was kind of just like struck by how many stories are out there of these goddesses who were once like, you know, beautiful, perfect women. And then through some accidents of life or usually some process of femininity, this youthfulness is gone and they go down into the underworld and then they're stuck there because their boyfriends couldn't like follow directions and get them out. And in the Kojiki, this is the end of Izanami's story. Like we never hear about her. She's like mentioned sometimes, but like she doesn't actually play any sort of active role, even though at this point she's, you know, crowned Queen of Death as well as being the Queen of Life. So obviously she's down there doing a bunch of stuff, but we never get to hear about what this stuff is. And I was like, this is a huge hole in the Mahou Shoujo like plot line. What happens to the Mahou Shoujo when she's not a shoujo anymore? What happens when she's a Mahou onna or a Mahou jose? So I decided I would like to just write that part of the story because I don't know, it doesn't exist yet. And so I started this Izanami series, which is a series of clay vessels and masks. And the vessels are inspired from Venus figurines that are found in archaeological digs all over Japan. They're believed to be from the Jomon era, as well as the Hanya masks that I was mentioning earlier, and also yoroi, or Japanese armor worn by samurai. And so each of the masks kind of represent how, like, just like how Izanagi got to form his own circle and his own crew to like go through his like glow up with. I was like, well, who are Izanami's hell hags? Who are her friends? Like, how is she doing her glow up? Like, what is her ritual cleansing? Like, what's she up to? And so like all of these masks kind of represent her friends and the people who are sitting at her table and like who are helping her realize her own ultimate powers as this like mature queen and queen of the underworld. And so I've created 6 masks, and so the first one is the strategist, who helps her negotiate deals so that next time they don't fail just because someone turned the lights on. And the veteran, so who's gone through many battles and has good recommendations on how to win at war. The assassin, who's just good at knocking out enemies. The civilian, who's just like, you know, her everyday, represents her everyday constituency and tells her what the people need. The informants, who are the spies and keeps her in the know of what the goss is. And then the healer, who's the shaman and the oracle. And then each of the jars represent kind of this like level or realm that Izanami needs to like clear and understand and become acquainted with so that she can become a more equitable and more fair queen. And so the first one is the realm of Venus Jar 1 is the realm of bodily autonomy and self-reliance. So like this is the level where I think she has to come to terms with like how she existed in the physical realm of the living and how things change as her body changes and her body's capacity changes. Not to exclude the idea that she was once able to give birth to many lives, but now her body no longer holds birth, it holds death. And so like, what does it mean? And also like, did she want to give birth to all those beings or not? Like, did she have a choice? If she were to do it again, how would it be different? The second jar, Venus Jar 2, is about travel. And now that Izanami is this single woman, what are new realms that she's going to discover? Who are new people and new cultures that she'll meet? And can she approach these people, these places of difference, of newness, with acceptance and openness and a willingness to learn, as opposed to just like fear and suspicion? And then the third jar, Venus Jar 3, is about platonic intimacy, friendship. Like, who are the people who mourned Izanami that weren't just her lover, but like, you know, her confidants? And who are these new people that she'll meet that may not offer her romantic partnership, but partnerships of different kind and love of different kind? And then Venus Jar 4 is this is my Mahou Shoujo jar, but it represents spirituality, magic. One of the things about this story that really blows my mind is like, what a boulder stopped Izanami from like coming out and getting Izanagi. Like, if Izanagi can move a boulder, I think Izanami could too. Or at least she must have some kind of power to counter that one. And so as she becomes Queen of Death, what are her new powers? What's the new Mahou that she comes to master? And then Venus Jar 5 is about matriarchal inheritance, treasures, and burdens. And so obviously both Izanami and Izanagi held great power, great talents, and they would go on to pass these on to their children. But obviously in their relationship, we can also see some sort of toxic traditions and cultures and communications forming. So what are aspects of inheritance that are treasures versus burdens? And how do we keep and maintain certain things, whereas we learn to let go of others that won't serve future generations? And then the last one, Venus Jar 6, is about emotional intelligence and how that is just as important in building a culture and building a nation, as well as, science and technology. And so what are the cultural traditions that Izanami contributed in helping create this new nation? So that's as far as I got. And then 2020 hit, and I was no longer able to get access into the clay studio. So for about a year, I had to figure out a way to continue this series that wasn't through making a clay art. And while I was at home, I very much felt like, oh, wow, okay, like I thought I was gonna get myself and Izanami out of the underworld, but I'm more stuck in it than ever. And all I had at my disposal, besides for just like drawing materials, was this like two giant industrial sized spools of paper ribbon. So it's like this like twisted cardboard ribbon. And so I started just like sitting down and crocheting with it, just as a thing to a way to sustain my like creative practice, I guess. And so every day I was like making loop after loop, circle after circle, until it was starting to form this net shape. And I was thinking about how, like with Izanagi and all these other gods like Susano, Amaterasu, like there's all of these rituals that exist within Shinto culture to like celebrate them and remember them and speak to them. And I was thinking like, why don't we have ritual like this for Izanami, even though she's like a very foundational and important figure within this, spiritual system? Like we don't really have any way to sit and celebrate her. And so I was thinking, well, like me crocheting this is my way to celebrate her. And then eventually I realized that like me crocheting this also acknowledges that starting with her, we've created this system, this Yomi underworld system of those of us who possess this body, who holds this space for life and death, for creating life and maybe sometimes suppressing life or seeing life fail. We pass this space on generation to generation, and through that we link each other, and through that we hold all of human history down in this space, down in Yomi. And so in that way, we're all connected. And so then I decided, because Shinto is at its core a collection of folk traditions that honored nature and the seasons and how their land like supported their vitality as people, I decided to do the same. And I took this net that I created and hung it from an electrical tower that was like in my neighborhood, and got together with my hell hags, so a bunch of my friends who also like possess this underworld in their bodies. And we got together and we all just like shared through poetry and song. And we shared in ritual, like odes to Izanami or odes to Yomi. And so I compiled kind of a video of this gathering. And this is my last slide. And so while you guys watch this, I'd like you to kind of think about maybe ways in which you come and hold ritual for your own Yomi or for the people in your life who've carried Yomi for you. And yeah, so let me just play that. Oh, sorry. Okay, so that is the last. Oh, sorry. That's the whole thing. I have one ending slide, but it's just me being like, I'll just skip it. But yeah, that's it. That's the story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all those details. I think um, I have to first acknowledge the immense storytelling mechanics that were at play for Izanami and Izanagi. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see chat during the element, but conversations about Wi-Fi and place being dusty and dirty and all that stuff, I think had everybody on their toes about what was going to happen next. Um, Also, Izanagi is a huge jerk for throwing peaches at somebody and then sealing them in their place of residence. Like, I would never consider.
Rude.
Yeah, just roll up into somebody's house, throw fruit of them at them, and then lock them in.
Yeah.
But your ceramic work is amazing. The Izanami series and the other sculptural series. I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the second series that you shared with us as well. But both of them, to hear the characterization and the what you were after in telling the story of Izanami is like just really profound. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Hanako, you've been up to so much since the last time I've seen you. This is amazing. And also, I saw maybe at least one other person from our grad program in that video.
Yeah, Nina. Mm-hmm.
Nina. Oh my goodness, I love it. Yeah, it was so natsukashi, right? Like this is
Yeah.
so sweet. And I'm just so moved by all the work you've been up to. And even like, you're kind of dabbling in it. I don't know if you call it a textile or something like this, but that was really impressive. I'm floored here. And I would just, echo everyone else in chat, which you maybe didn't get the chance to see, just admiring your storytelling abilities. I really feel like you may have like a career in voiceover or like, I would attend any of your TED Talks, Hanako. I feel like this was amazing.
It definitely needs one of those illustrative. I don't want to focus too much on it because the ceramics are definitely the key here, but it has its own spotlight where that storytelling needed like it had one of those illustrative, the way somebody might illustrate like stand-up comedy. That's how it all played out in my head, and then to see that the ukiyo-e piece of Izanagi, who looked as though he was hiding in a tree from Izanami and her hell hags. It capped it off like in a very comedic way.
This is really cool, Hanako. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us and preparing this really cool presentation. I wonder, we're going to welcome you back again, of course, at 8:30 with everybody else. But before we have to move on to all the other magical ladies joining us today, could you tell us if you have something new in the horizon that we should kind of be looking out for as well?
Well, I feel like so with that originally with the Izanami series, I wanted to make 12 vessels and 12 masks, but with COVID, I mean my goal with the whole project was to figure out a way to get Izanami like unstuck from Yomi, because in that whole story to me, like again, like I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I don't think she's stuck there because she like can't get out. I think she's stuck there because like she's busy working like down there. And so it's not about like, oh, she's this tragic figure that like, like died and like went. It's like, no, she's actually like, she transcended this level of Mahou Shoujo and like is now becoming this like Mahou matriarch, and is like, so she's like doing the work down there, but like, why don't we celebrate it? Why isn't there any myth and legend about her? And so yeah, the whole point of the series was a way for me to figure out how it is that she can traverse these realms, because she is queen of death but also life, and the two need each other in order for each other to exist. And so yeah, when I crocheted that piece, I think at first I was just like, well shoot, like I guess everything's on pause, so like I guess we're just gonna keep on with the Yomi life. But then I realized, oh no, actually this is the last piece I needed to like get her out, and then also like get her in community. And so, and I feel like I kind of like just put that to rest. And so like that was like, a piece that's like 3 years in the make. Took 3 years, or a body of work that took 3 years. And so now I'm kind of in the weird artist limbo land of figuring out who my next muse is. But in the meantime, I've been making a bunch of hell hats, and so like this is always my like go-to intermission project where I just make all these little masks and like play around with glazes and surfaces until I figure out my next thing.
I love it. There can't be enough hell hags in this world, that much I'm sure of.
No, there always needs to be more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome, Hanako. This is so cool. And I hope that, if at some point the world changes a touch and we can welcome you in Chicago and maybe do an exhibition with you, that would be really cool.
Well, this is my first like art thing that I did in Chicago, technically. So
yeah.
It's the start. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, for sure. And we will be hearing more from Hanako in a little bit. So if you have more questions, because we have so many guests talking about different things today, we're kind of saving the last half hour for all of that, like really deep Q&A so people can answer together. And also what I had not mentioned in the beginning is we're hoping to also, open up dialogue to some of the more salient topics of the news as of recent too. So come back for that, Hanako. We will see you in about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And just again, a preemptive thank you so much. This is amazing.
Oh, thank you. This is super fun. I'm really glad I got to be part of it.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Chat, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our next guest. And welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone, to just wall of text for you here. I figured it'd be better to give our next guest a little introduction. Another one from me, like you had with Hanako previously. This is actually our next guest is a resident artist at the Japanese Arts Foundation, and we work with Mamie, who is the next guest, so often. And so she and I have come to know each other so well over the years that I know we have a shared passion, which is this particular moment in history. So around the 1900s, when a lot of feminist movements were really taking shape in Japan. And so to give you a little preemptive context before Mamie comes on to dish with us a little bit, I just wanted to share a little bit more so you could have more questions to ask her if you'd like to ask more. Just to note that we have jumped a tremendous amount in time. And this is because the artists that we're speaking with today had selected these particular moments. So this isn't to say that really important things didn't happen between, the Kojiki and Nihongi back in 700 to we've jumped all the way to the 1900s now. So lots of really important things have happened, and I'm sure we'll touch on more of those things in other shows, but you can also do that too. So if you have questions, I'm here for those. And just to note, if we don't answer everything that you'd ever want to know, you can always reach out to us directly at the Japanese Arts Foundation Instagram page. You can find me there directly. I'm in chat as Japanese Arts Foundation. So I am so thrilled to answer any kind of Japanese history questions you might have. It's my favorite. So yeah, don't be shy. That said, we will start with the New Women's Association, also known as the New Women's Society, and it was a Japanese women's rights organization founded around 1920. And the organization strove to enhance women's rights in the areas of education, employment, and suffrage. So the preamble to this is this really important magazine or journal called Blue Stockings, or Seito. Seito is kind of the more traditional name. And so, yeah, this was actually created before the New Women's Association, but it's the same people who added to this magazine and to this kind of underground zine, I guess, that created that New Women's Association later. And so that would be Hiratsuka Raicho, um, Yasumochi Yoshiko. Actually, some of these people go on to be repeated, so I don't want to get too deep into them to save us some time for Mimi. But so the Blue Stocking Society, it had lots of different segments to it, lots of different contributors. As I've noted here, it had 57 issues with over 110 contributors to it over the years. So yeah, it was about a 5-year run, so it wasn't terribly long, but still really important. And a whole other show. I would love to talk about the artists who made the panels in these and the prints for these. I think they're amazing, and Mamie knows a lot about it too, actually. So you can ask her too. So yes, and then I mentioned here that one of the founders is a woman named Hiratsuka Raicho, and that's a pen name meaning Thunderbird. She is one of my favorite ladies to research and think about. She has a lot of split opinions on things and is kind of a debated person in history. But she lived a very long life, actually. She lived into the 70s. So she was around to see a lot of the change that she wished would happen. And in the very opening copy of Blue Stockings, which I guess could be considered part of their manifesto, she wrote, and this is harkening back to this woman that we mentioned earlier, Amaterasu. So think about Amaterasu as you think about this opening quote. She wrote, "In the beginning, woman was truly the sun, an authentic person. Now she is the moon, a wan and sickly moon, dependent on another, reflecting another's brilliance." And so here she's also reflecting to face paint being white, how if you are the sun, why would you need to pretend to be a moon? And she's talking a lot about Amaterasu as well. Like, how is it that we've come from being, this really important historical founding deity? We're on the flag, and yet here is what's happening. So there's a lot more to be said about Hiratsuka Raicho and the Blue Stockings or Seito. And I know that Mamie will give us more context on that as well. But I wanted you to have a photo of her just because I love all these historical photos. And then to add on to the Blue Stockings or the New Women's Association, there's also the Sekirankai or the Red Wave Society. And the Red Wave Society, as you can imagine, followed the communist movement. And Yamakawa Kikuei, actually, this is a departure from the New Women's Association, as Yamakawa Kikuei actually thought that Hiratsuka Raicho and that group only served an upper class of women and didn't serve people who had different lifestyles and abilities to receive that information. So more of a woman for the people in her own mind, in her own words, I suppose. And just before I introduce Mamie to you all, I wanted to read the manifesto that was handed out at a May Day celebration in 1920 in Japan. It was actually printed into a leaflet to the crowds and passed around. And I will say that they were banned shortly thereafter, and women were pretty banned from doing anything in public because of these things, unfortunately, for a time anyway. But just to read the manifesto from the Sekidankai. May Day is a day for the proletarians, for us workers who are oppressed. For centuries and centuries, women and workers have endured together a history of oppression and ignorance. But the dawn is approaching. The morning gong that was struck in Russia signals the first step in the victory that will, minute by minute, banish the darkness of capitalism and the face of the earth. Sisters, listen to the power of the woman that is embodied in the sound of that gong. Let us exert the utmost of our strength and, together with our brothers, strike that gong that will signal the liberation of the proletarians of Japan. Women who are awake, join the May Day March. The Sekidan Kai is a women's organization that plans to participate in the enterprise to destroy the capitalist society and build a socialist society. The capitalist society turns us into slaves at home and oppresses us as wages slaves outside the home. It turns many of our sisters into prostitutes. Its imperialistic ambitions rob us of our beloved fathers, children, sweethearts, and brothers and turn them into cannon fodder. It forces them and proletarians of other countries to brutally kill each other. It is a society that, for the sake of its greedy profiteers, crushes and sacrifices our youth, health, talents, and all chance for happiness, even our lives, and feels no compassion. The Sekidankai declares all-out war on this cruel, shameless society. Women who wish to be liberated join the Sekidankai. Socialism offers the only way to save mankind from the oppressions and abuses of capitalism. Sisters who love justice and morality join the socialist movement. And these are the words of Yamakawa Kikué, who you're seeing in this image here. And though the Red Wave Society was also pretty short-lived, I think these are two of the major movements that I would like to reference as we introduce Meimi Takahashi. And also, this is a book that I wanted to share with you all. If you are interested in women's rights movements around the turn of the century, if you are interested in reading some memoirs from women who were in prison and on death row in Japan, I cannot recommend this book enough. So I'm putting it in chat. This was a book I actually have held on to for 15 years since my undergraduate classes. And so I just wanted to share it all with you. That said, I'd love to introduce Meimi Takahashi. You can find her on this website here, and we'll put that in chat. You can find her on Instagram, but you can also find her joining us here right now.
Right now. And also, while Meimi is joining, I can post a link to the book chat.
Oh, just kidding.
Oops. What did I do?
Oh, hello.
Hi.
You just need to turn your camera on.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you're here now. All good.
Yeah?
Yeah, all good.
I don't see that myself though.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yes. Ikimashou.
Ah, yeah. No, I hear that too. No.
So I think if you mute your Twitch stream. While we can't hear Meimi any longer, I will note that you can find Meimi part-time here in Chicago, part-time in Portland. She works out the sound issues. Have you figured it out?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah? Good. Sorry for technologies and stuff like that.
It eludes all of us all the time.
Yeah. It was great talk that Hanako did. It's great storytelling. Like for me, like, wow, Wi-Fi settling. Yeah, I need that. No. For the Sarah explained the what I'm gonna talk about is a little bit like sad in the way because how Japanese women have been fighting for, and it's complicated in the way. And like I didn't make my presentation as a funny or comical that I can do, but it's more like personal, family connection to this movement and how these personal family kind of generation that they have been fighting for this women's light, how they influenced me to be here in the United States and be an artist. So
Certainly.
So should I go ahead or we just chat more or what's the
Why don't you go ahead and then we can make sure that we can chat as we go.
Okay, that sounds great. So let me do my presentation.
If you have any audio, I think there's a little option to share audio when you do like a share screen as well.
I don't think okay. Maybe one video, but I don't think I will share everything. So okay. And then yeah, looks good.
Looks good.
It's great.
Okay. So what I'm gonna talk about, it's more like combination between the artist talk and women's, right movement, that where my actual family have to, do it in the way. Oops. So I just want to quickly to talking about the Edo period, and at the 1868, and the Meiji period started. And then, as you may know, the Meiji period is westernized in a quick, so rapid westernization. Of course, it starts from like top rich people, and then in central like a metropolis Tokyo, like Edo, and then went to um, didn't go that much influence to countryside farming communities. So this like westernization is just for central Tokyo at the time and the rich people. But it's a good thing is because it's the model, like a society model, Japanese the top like government, politicians model, like many structure in Europe. They did a lot of things. For example, 1872, which this geishogi kaihore, meaning like ordinance of all geisha and the prostitute liberation. Because actually happened, one act, a couple incidents happened before this, like the Western gentleman and his wife came to Japan, and the wives had a issue, or like wife has an issue with Japanese guy who believed the women have to be after them, but the Western women has like they don't see the way. So it's a lot of controversy happening between the westernizations and traditional Japanese masculinity. And they start, they have to have something the politically to appeal to Western countries, European country, that we are getting there, modernizing. So, but of course, this is just because of political reason. It didn't actually really happen. Like in Japan until 19, even after World War II, I know the prostitution was legal even after World War II. So especially countryside, farming communities. So this is just written in the, for law. But another good thing is the 1872, the first school for women to attend. But in the way, it's the school is for sewing or cooking or be a good housewife type of school. And then 1873, women finally gained the right to request divorce. But it's a very small number of rich daughters of strong, powerful family could do that at the time. And then 1880s, a lot of like women's freedom rights movement happened along with the freedom rights movement, which men made a leadership of. But Hideko Fukuda and then Toshiko Kishida was a female member of this movement, and they included women's life along with this freedom and the people's right movement. And in 1880, one woman actually claimed her suffrage right because she's a landlord, she's an owner, a taxpayer, and then but government didn't like it, so they temporarily accepted her. Women, if women is a taxpayer, they can vote or but they shut down within 4 years to not this law. So after that huge anti-women's liberation movement, actually until the World War II, it's funny, like people in America think that the US is kind of very issues, but because the US forced to Japan to open up at the end of World War II, a lot of women's rights are actually placed, real placement. So something like that, but the anti-women's liberation was pretty long time, even 1990. What the Sarah mentioned, a lot of women's movement, government actually ordered, sorry, not 1990, it's 1890. I'm sorry, what type of, but the government ordered to all women to not gather more than 3 women outside of their house. My great grandma actually born 1895. And that's, I'm gonna talk a little bit later. And in 1900, 5 years after she was born, the Joshibi University of Arts and Design was founded. This school was first art school to accept women, because at the time, art school didn't accept women's admission, only men's admission at the time. And this is my great grandma. I remember she died, I think, when I was junior high or something like that. She was a very strict, serious person. She was a person who took me to her calligraphy classes or tea ceremony classes or walk like a woman, like that kind of person. But she also the person who made her daughters go to college, the Joshibi University of Art, and she herself pursued education, and she went through higher education, and she was able to write and read. At the time, like 95% women are not able to do that. So she made it through that, and she married, but great grandpa was typical Japanese man that had mistresses outside of the house and then didn't come back to home. So she took advantage of that. She just got the money from great grandpa and then made her daughters to go to schools without father's permissions, and made everything to do so. And she was like, I remember we watched the TV together, and she gave me what she's thinking, what she's believing by watching TV together. And at the time she was growing up, she knew the Seito magazine was there, and she was looking at the Raicho, the Hiratsuka, the Thunderbird Sarah mentioned, and she was also look up the person who made the cover illustration, Chieko Takamura, wife of Kon Takamura. The Art Institute has, right? Art Institute has a Kon's wooden sculpture, Sarah, right?
Yeah, I wish we could. I have so much to say, but yes, these transom panels, these phoenix panels that I spent a lot of my life working on, would have been the husband of this person who carved those. Yeah.
Right, and then the school was kind of like let the Chieko does what she wanted to do if she does house chores, but she was lucky enough that she can pursue her career in the art. And my great grandma was talking a little bit about that. And of course, the writer's remarkable writing in the beginning, Women Was Sun, was from this Seito magazine. And at the time, the generation my grandma, great grandma secretly read or secretly talking about the about their life and what's the world. And then the Taisho period is after Meiji period. There is a new women's association started, and then Laicho and the Husai Ichikawa was very much involved in this women's association. And then 1922, women became able to be a lawyer. And then 1960, my great aunt was born, and that is this photo to right of the photo, with a gray suit. She was a very active artist and calligrapher. She went to Joshibi University of Arts and Craft that I mentioned it. And she taught me calligraphy and Japanese painting. And then since I was little, she was very good teacher, but pretty critical of occasionally. And she was very independent woman. She divorced her husband from her side, and she became to be a single mother. And she was a breadwinner until she died. She died. And then to the person on the left on the photo having baby, which is me, is my grandma. And she also went to a Joshibi University because at the time, Joshibi University of Arts and Design was only art school women can go. So my boss, great aunt, grandma went to the school. My grandma actually, so for traditional concept, was still now when women married to the man, they changed their last name to her husband family name. That is not necessary in Japan as a law. So my grandma actually made grandfather to change his last name to her last name because legally fine for that. So she was pretty much stamped that she is the person who is independent in that way, that by doing it. And then the last person I want to say talking about is my mom. And she didn't go to Joshibi University of Arts and Craft because she went to public university because she wanted to be an art educator. And at the time, school teacher or nurse, only like women can be living independently, for finance reasons. And I know she just worked hard, study hard to get to her entrance exam to the college. And she went there, and then later on her life, she started having her own business. She even, a couple years ago, she even got her MA degree in English literature. She was 69 at the time. So, and then these women I introduced is very important because these women are the people who supported me to, in the way, how can I say, not to be traditional. It's not traditional. It's traditional is maybe the wrong word because my family made sure I studied tea ceremony and Japanese paintings and everything else, but they never pushed me the traditional Japanese females idea that married, have a child, be housework, cook for family. That never told me to do so. Of course, they taught me for myself to able to live independently, to cooking, cleaning, and then also work. They made sure I can do that too for me, but they didn't tell me that I have to marry or do it, that kind of things for husband or family. It's a very unusual, and they kind of secretly did it. They can't speak up that because society punished them. And it's weird that not only men's punish them, but we know women's also punish us because they are doing their roles, be at home, clean, cook, raise kids. And here, a family of generations who secretly, like, that's not necessary to be happy. You can pursue your happiness. And I love the translation that I think Sarah pasted, the Mahou Shoujo. It's a girl who can dream, right? The Mahou Shoujo is a girl who can dream. And what they taught me is I can dream. I can have a dream to pursue. So whatever other women and men in Japan told me, they believe I can do that. So that's the things. So I don't know how much, I forgot my time, Derek, how much I have. I didn't start my clock.
No, you probably have another 15-20 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about a little bit about my work, but this is video work, so I just quickly wanna play very short video. So this is actually 2 hours and a half, like a real duration of this piece. But I, of course, made it very short clip. So I moved here partially reason because in Japan, the neighbors or women and men in the society told me that I can do whatever I cannot do whatever I want to do. It's time for you to marry and time for you to taking care of your family or something. And then I was just, my family doesn't say that, but the other people kept telling me. And then when I kind of like against it, the idea, I decided to move to this country because I can't live like this. And then what I did is the video I showed you, like I expressed my invisibility in the way. I can't so this video, I feel like I don't have a, language, or I don't have a voice to the society in Japan, but also in US, because I have accent and I had no idea about US culture. Of course, I knew the popular Hollywood movie. I know the popular music very briefly, but not like the level of people who was raised here. So I was again to be voiceless in the way. So this is from, this video came from the perspective that I am writing my thoughts in Japanese, and that writing is going to disappear me or pixelate me. Then soon after I started the hiding piece, but also like not hiding piece. So this two-way mirror film I found here in this country, two-way mirror film or mirror film. I made a dorm-like structure that, I press my upper body inside. I can see others, but people outside hardly see me, but they can tell I am a human being. So like I wanted to hide my kind of identity as how much I can hide. Maybe if like that, people may think somebody who has a small hand, so can be child, can be woman, but it's very hard to tell who I am. And that gave me a kind of freedom for So I found this invisibility became kind of freedom of acting in the society. And I started this series in 2014, but I'm still continuing doing it. This is just January 2021. I did this piece at the rural Oregon, and then cars passing by, some cars actually stopped and harassed me, like almost, they didn't like this kind of weird performance. No, I don't think people need to see the video. And this is another video, another photo image. I had artist collaborators at the residency program in Georgia. These women also under the capsule I made, a dorm I made, and then we performed together. And then they are like very much acting out, at the site. They feel like freedom because nobody can see who they are. So it's kind of like kind of empowerment in that way while we are not able to be seen. And quickly talking about another piece, it's I did couple Japanese paper making workshop for Japanese Culture Center and the Japanese Arts Foundation. And this is handmade Japanese paper. I made a bunch of paper that stripped down from the ceiling and then made a limit access to the other side of the room. So one way is who has access? What's the meaning of access? Right of access, that kind of issue, But also this paper actually have watermark. And these watermark phonetic pronunciation, like a demarcate. And then for native English users, when they see the English words, they may not even think about the word, but by placing the phonetic way, they have to use their brain to what this is. Oh, it's a demarcate. So I kind of thought about experience on my experience to holy language. But for in this way, native speakers also have to struggle a little bit to understand their own language too. And that's also another way of what's the access mean too. And then this for the language, English language made me to think about, of course, accent, written, English, like a voice, speaking, speak, listening, writing, reading, right? So this piece is talking about hearing and then speaking English. I made a poem in English and then using very special speaker to shooting the sound towards to the circle, the people standing. If you're stepping out from the circle, you may have a hard time to hearing it. But when you step into the circle, you can hear my poem right next to your ear. It's kind of very intimate. So this is also like talking about access to it. And then these are also recent work about English and language and poetry making. I, as a non-US citizen, I have to say a little bit, how can I say? Okay, let me talk this way. So there is a Japanese woman in Portland. Her name is Ayaka Abe. She's not good for English, but she wanted to communicate with people nearby or around her who she may not know. So what she did is she made a set of poems and placed her poems in different places in public. So like she placed her poem, like this one, on the phone booth. She also placed her poem on the side of some building, and she let others to tag on. She's fine, like that's interaction. Somebody tag on, or erased. That's kind of communication for her with the local people she doesn't know. And that's the thing. So Ayaka Abe, I only able to say this way in the public talk. Ayaka Abe doesn't have a physical body. She is my alter ego. So she did it. I did it this because I have a limitation, legal limitation, that I can't say that who did this. Make sense?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So another is language-based installation I did is, this is my poems on the vinyl, but surrounded by notepad. These notepads are my actually vocabulary notes. So when I read article about immigrations on the New York Times, while I was waiting for my immigration process a couple years ago, I have to use dictionary to read, and then these are notes from the vocabularies that I have to check. And then I made a couple poems from these new vocabularies that I didn't know. And then this is installation of the English language, the written language in the way. And then like thinking about what's the traditional background I have from my art school, which is Joshibi, University of Art and Design. Their traditional practice in Japanese painting that I got, and how can I use that to this practice, like a language practice. So I use a silver leaf, traditional Japanese painting technique, and then burned, oxidized it, and then left my poems not oxidized. So that's a process I did it. And I'm showing this because I'm thinking about what's next for me. And this is another oxidizing piece. So what I'm going to next is I'm thinking about next summer. Sarah is curating amazing exhibition, and then have some kind of body, but also kintsugi. And I'm thinking about also this oxidizing process, because human being is oxidizing every day since we are born. And that's kind of body as a physical, but also one of the idea for like people probably know Osamu Tezuka, the comic genius. When Tezuka made a series of comic called Phoenix, and I'm not sure if Phoenix is translated to English, but Phoenix is about spirituality that he thinks it represents Japanese spirituality. And in the series of Phoenix, he's talking about also like idea of oxidizing reincarnation, the universe. The universe is going to disappear and come, like a dead, died, the planet died, a planet coming back, like a burn, same as humans, born, die, and then born again and die in different format. And then oxidizing is parts of the kind of idea for him. So I thought it's kind of just keep thinking about that too. And then recently I made artist book, not that artist book. Yeah, has my poem on the silver leaf background. And then I have video I want to show. one is it? Yeah, this one. So thinking about oxidizing, but also thinking about traditional aspect, traditional Japanese painting or traditional Japanese aesthetics, how I can use that for contemporary way. And this is actually like I dropped the sumi ink on the water and then videotape it. So the lines created by this slow movement on the water, and then that kind of looks like a leading, but I layered multiple exact same clip in different time, different effectors I used. And then this is very much, if I said this is like sumi ink dropping on the water, people can say, oh yeah, I can see it. But the aesthetic of what I wanted to say is not just a simple, I wanted to create a video or like the work that has no, it's like a Japanese aesthetics, but a contemporary way, but it starts from something very simple, like many Japanese art is originated. And, I'm not tech person, technical, they're not tech person. So people, maybe watching this stream, talk, you can tell what kind of things I used. I just use a Premiere and then using different effect, right? So very much simple, but this is one of the idea that is connect me to our traditional aesthetic. And this time I didn't use a language, but somewhat connect to my like a of security of who I am too, like of securing the identity in the way that because people cannot tell this is sumi ink dropping clearly. So I don't know if it makes sense or not, but something like that. And then after that, I have maybe, yeah, okay. And then after I started this kind of series of video, oops, how can I do that? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So this is another sumi ink dropping video, but I pushed much more harder that people cannot even tell that was that from ink dropping on the water. But some people probably can tell when you see everything, how it worked. And then I thought about Tezuka's Phoenix, that he has time that he used that the creation of universe as reversed in one of his episodes. And now you can tell, maybe able to tell this is actually reversed process of ink dropping. And then I just thinking like, how I can how I can making obscure the fact this is from sumi ink dropping. Then my last video will be how can I do that? Like the zoom bar is showing up on top. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So this is what I want to ask people today is, since I'm thinking about female's body or human's body too, and oxidizing, and the next year's exhibition is about body and can revive, can you repair in the way. Sarah can talk more probably, but how we can revive ourselves. And this is a video I made pretty much way before, and projecting women's body on the sumi ink paper background. Just thinking like how I can push this, to our, real kind of completed work. Hold this again. Yep. This is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mimi, that was amazing. I feel so rarely do I actually get to see what you're doing other than what we ask you to do all the time. This is like such a treat.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know if audience can get idea that it's kind of like a contemporary, like a work for somebody from very like a Japan traditional country, in the way, women are still not really equal in the way yet. To do this kind of work, if I'm in Japan and do the kind of work, I will be super criticized. I will be very much like, yeah, super criticized, very hard to do this kind of work. Even it's nothing about sexual, nothing about things, but it's kind of like have a political elements in it. So, coming here made me to not criticizing from Japanese social norms in the way. I don't think it's traditional, idea. It's more social norms, what the women have to do. And pursuing being artist at this age in Japan, people think, so, stop that, have a child, taking care of husband. And for me, that's actually like, why? My, great grandma, mom never said so, and then they fought for it, So it's kind of like showing my work makes me to feeling like without their kind of secret fight in the life that makes sure their girls can be educated, highly educated. And it brought me to our museums and galleries. I couldn't make it this, in the foreign country. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Mimi. And I hope that long tradition that you're talking about, that the women in your family have given to you, you give to so many others, and you share all of that teaching and education with everyone here who would never have a chance to learn all of these skills and artistic practices thanks to all of your talents and all of your work. So we're so grateful. We're so grateful. And as Mimi had mentioned as well, we'll be doing a lot more projects together. We're just so fortunate to steal so much of her time. I can't quite tell you about the Kintsugi exhibitions and things that are coming up.
Not yet.
We will. You'll see it all around Chicago in the next year or so. And if you want to be a part of it, that's also the plan too. So, again, we aren't saying goodbye to Mamie yet. We're just gonna hold on a touch longer because we have one more guest. We want to make sure that we give her a little bit of space too. So let us say goodbye to Mamie just for now. And we will all circle back in another half hour, but don't worry, Derek and Mayumi and I will be back in just a moment.
Go anywhere.
Thank you so much.
And we're back.
Friends, we are back. It is approaching the 8 o'clock hour, and we have more yet. So, again, as I love to do, is show you all the sources that I know were referenced for this episode and in our thoughts. So, if you want to dig a little bit deeper, or if you're wondering where our perspectives come from, here you go. This is, these images look so pixelated. I'm sorry I couldn't get better scans of these, but this is a book that I know Mayumi, our next guest, will be referencing heavily. She actually noted this to us before the show, and so I was able to get my hands on this book, and it was a surprise to all of us that it's been translated into English. So definitely take a peek. It's a really great read. I think it's really insightful and interesting. But before we bring Mayumi on, I would love to introduce her just a touch. So, artist Mayumi Lake is driven by her childhood fantasies, phobias, and desires. Mayumi's artwork interacts with the ideas of time, memory, and floating between the real and the imaginary. She uses photography to weave her autobiographical narrative. From the prepubescent flesh surrounded by soft pastel clothing, emotionally charged landscapes with a solitary soldier girl standing, and darkly illuminated, saturated stereotyped females to bright and sparkly photosculptural mythical flowers. She also incorporates sculpture, sound, moving images, and installation to expand her narrative into more complex layers. As a Japanese immigrant who has been living in the United States for over 20 years, her work is continually floating and shifting between states, East and West, longing and hope, memories and oblivion, past and future. She is interested in archiving things that could be forgotten or become obsolete over time. Otherwise, she'll forget where she came from. The awareness of the impermanence of things, or mono no aware, which I'm happy to put in chat, guys, in Japanese, has turned into an obsession and obligation to preserve the past as knowledge for the future. The idea of photography works very well to freeze and package the floating moments to archive them. Although her obsession is rooted in a very personal narrative, she believes the most personal is the most universal. In this way, she evokes emotional reactions from her viewers. And I feel like we should welcome in Mayumi, and to note that she has joined us before. This is not your first time seeing Mayumi in Tokyo House Party. Oh, let me stop sharing my screen.
Hello.
Mayumi.
Hi. Hold on, let me turn on off the mute. Hi, am I on?
Hi.
You are. You're a touch quiet.
Oh, um, is this better?
Just a little bit, but I think you should be okay.
Okay.
So welcome Mayumi back to Tokyo House Party. I don't know how many have you been on now. Is this your third?
I think it's third, right? And then I'm always have like an the Wi-Fi issue, so I don't know where's the louder. So if then my presentation get cut off, Derek and Sarah-san, can you, if you I uploaded my presentation, so you can run from there, but hopefully that, that I can do from my end, and then hopefully you won't get interrupted. But twice I think it was, yeah, just a little issue. So
sounds good. Well,
hi.
we won't keep you from getting started then. Let's just jump right into it.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do share screen and then share sound, video clip. Ah, all right, sorry. Ah, you guys can see everything right now. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, oh wait, hold on. Sorry, I'm seeing the iPad and did it. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Mayumi Lake. I'm an photographer and then based in Chicago, originally from Osaka. And today I want to talk about Mahou Shoujo and then Sento Shoujo, or um, fighting girls, the magical girls and fighting girls. Um, so the Mahou Shoujo and then fighting girls is it's to me it belongs to the same genre. So I'm gonna talk a brief history of that, where how all those and the superpower girls started it. So I'm gonna start to talk about the anime version of the Mahou Shoujo. I mean, today for the in terms of the Mahou Shoujo, I'm only gonna talk about the anime version. Of course, there is like a tokusatsu version of an Mahou Shoujo series, but it's like a too much to talk about. So I'm just gonna focus on the anime series for the Mahou Shoujo. So Mahou Shoujo started it by the Toei Animation Studio. So this is the early Mahou Shoujo series. Hopefully this will work. So then the first one is the Mahou Tsukai Sari or Sari the Witch. So let me see if it's gonna run. This is the opening themes of the Sari. Is it running? Is it running? 魔法の国からやってきたちょっとジャムな女の子サリーサリー不思議な力で街中に夢と笑いを振りまくのサリーサリー魔法使いサリーほうきに乗ってやってきたちょっとお茶目なお姫様サリーサリー魔法の言葉を唱えると愛と希望が飛び出すのサリーサリー魔法使いサリーサリーサリーサリちゃん Okay, did it work well?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So the Sari-chan is the first the Mahou Shoujo anime in the 1966, and you guys sorry, no praying again. Here, so Bewitched, or in the Japanese title is Okusama wa Majo, means my wife is a witch. This one was an heavily run in Japan. Even if when I was a little kid, it was always rerun in 5 o'clock the TV time slot, or maybe 4:30. But anyways, after school time slot, I think this series, this and Bewitched, and then I Love Genie, and then also Thunderbird was like three. I remember that there was aired for like I don't know, like a long time. So and then the Sari-chan, you can see very strong influence of this Bewitched. And then next one is the Ako-chan's Secret. I'm not gonna play the opening video for that, but so the Japanese title is Himitsu no Ako-chan, 1969. So I don't remember seeing I don't remember seeing a Sari-chan or Ako-chan in the in the real time, and then I saw it as a rerun. But Ako-chan is first one was introduced that the gadget. So which is also like an the besides of the magic wand, Mahou Shoujo always have a gadget to give the either ordinary girls the power, the magical power, or just to this is an the um, toy company have to make a the sponsor of the anime have to make a money, so they makes the gadget for the girls to buy it. So um, Sari-chan was a princess of the from the magic world, and then happened to the arriving on the humans world, and then all those so many things happens, and then all those the uh, accident and then happens, and then she helped she solved the mystery with the her magic power. Ako-chan is the same thing, but it's the Ako-chan for the through this little the what was it little there's a mirror inside, so she got this power from uh, the guy from like an the Miller magical Miller land. So that everything whole through this Aqua-chan series, there was an mirror was a theme. Everything is a mirror. She opened this and this little that this gadget opening, and there's a mirror, and then she can change it to the other character to save the save the people, and then all those accidents. So this is the first format of the transformation, and also this is the first format of the ordinary girls get powered granted it from the magical being or people coming from the magic world. So okay, and then next one is Little Meg, the witch girls, Majoko Meg-chan. So this one I remember seeing in an actual real time, and then I'm gonna play this video, but I'm also gonna turn on the English caption, because it's the Meg-chan has a little bit more kind of like adult to animation decided to like a little bit adult direction, so it is no good things right now if I see it from like a 2021's view, but yeah. So and then Megi-chan is the she is from the magical world, so she's kind of like she came to the humans world to have a like an experience to be that she's fighting for the magic worlds and the queen's position with her rival character. So everything she do in here is part of her trainings. So let's see if I can do here. Come on. Loud. Are you loud? Okay. All right, so I mean, it's if you look
Wow.
up, yeah, I know, I know, but I love that Megu-chan when I was a little kid because she is funny, very whimsical, cute, and then also like have a power to act like an the adult, right? So then as it says on the song, um, because it's an the what was that? No, Mako-chan. Akko-chan is a transformed to adult to save the the people around her. But Megi-chan is already going transformed to the adult direction. So she has a power. She doesn't have to and then she doesn't have any gadget. So she has her own harper. When she does a magic power, she uses her finger. So yeah, but it's also 1970s, so yes, there's no good this thing to look back. Okay, so the next one is jumping to the 80s. So then magical princess Minky Momo, or Mahou no princess Minky Momo. So Minky Momo came from the dream world, the Fenari Nasa, and then she is a princess of the Fenari Nasa, and then she using her magical power, she used that this is the magic wand. Um, she transformed to the adult and then the various character, and then she fight for that to keep the people's dream. So and then transformation scene is probably the first one introduced in Minky Momo. So and then she has a the buddies, or those mascot character. This is also like the beginning of the format of the Mahou Shoujo, the gadget, and then uh, the just cute the mascot character. So, but also she also have a flying van, so which is very strange for the Mahou Shoujo to have. So, and then the Minky Momo, I put the Minky Momo because it's the significance of her role in the Mahou Shoujo world. So towards a season at that time that Japanese anime once the whole season was just usually 1 year, so it's 46 episode. But before then, so around like a 44 or 5 episode, that the sponsor decided to just say, okay, that's it, just finish up, and we're just gonna cancel the show. Then creator get very upset, and then they did everything to destroy the series, including the Momo get hit by a truck and then died.
Wow.
Yeah, so and then this is that for the up until then, all the Mahou Shoujo was cute, pretty, happy, but this is the way this towards the end of this Minky Momo get really dark. And then also this truck hitting the main character is kind of become like a cliche of that, no cliche, or like an one of the like a repeatedly used pattern. And then I don't know if any for the most recent example, I don't know if you guys watched the Zombieland saga, which is very good, everybody should watch it. um, the the main character Sakura as soon as the episode 1 started, she get hit by a truck and died, and that's how she became the zombie. So I mean this that the so Minky Momo is kind of introduced this the dark element of the Mahou Shoujo world, which is it's I'm gonna coming back to this darkness side. Also, then other like we call it as a curse of the Minky Momo. So that every time that Minky Momo has a 2 series, but it's the so the regardless of the which then the final episode aired, there is always it could be conspiracy, but it's that always earthquake happens in Japan. So the very famous one is 1997's Hanshin Great uh, earthquake. When the Davis happens in the also the rerun of the Minky Momo's final episode was aired, so people say, "Oh my God, this is a curse of the the Minky Momo." So and and of course Sailor Moon, right? This is now the 90s. Today I'm not the expert of Sailor Moon, just because Sailor Moon series was very popular when after I moved to the United States and in the 90s. So it was kind of hard to get any of the the anime information back then. So I think there is a way more like an the expert to talk about the Sailor Moon. So I'm just gonna be only showing the images, but but what Sailor Moon contributed to the format of the Mahou Shoujo is first of all the Sailor Moon keep the that Mahou Shoujo, or there's all those super girls. Is always the age of 14 is very important, right? But then unlike the early Mahou Shoujo series, that Sailor Moon not gonna be adult. She maintained her own age. She stayed 14 years old, and then she maintained all the cuteness of that 14 years old, and then the Sailor Moon girls as an they do very physical fightings, which is an first for the Sailor Moon. And then she also have an magical pet mascot, Luna. And then also like an she introduced this Sailor Moon series introduced like an the awesome transformation scenes. And then and then after transformation scenes, she always said, everybody always said who they are, and then also they say that they're like an catchphrases.
Mhm.
So that is significant for the what Sailor Moon did. So then I'm gonna go back into the key elements, the what consists of magical the Mahou Shoujo, but I'm gonna go back a little bit and then I'm gonna talk about the fighting girls. So fighting girls and the Mahou Shoujo is a very similar the overlapped genre. So the first one is Princess Knight, or Ribbon no Kishi, means the knight with a ribbon, 1967. So so that this is an the, Prince Sapphire, or it's actually like a Princess Sapphire. So before she was born, that an angel did some like a trick, or just that as a mischief thing, and then she was born with an boy's soul. So and then she's a princess, aka the prince of this the kingdom. So then but with the her souls being a boy, and then she is trying to do like that to be like a boy as hard as she want, as hard as she can try, but eventually she gives up, and then then the transform into the female. But I think it's that what I wanted to say in here is importance of the costumes. So Princess Sapphire is dressed up this very the 60s cartoon like the or like almost like a Disney like the prince outfit. So the costume give her the male power. So, and then of course, this is the next one in the 70s. We move to the Rose of Versailles, or Versailles Nobara. So the comics is in 1973 and the anime is in 1979. The comics was a huge hit, and then also anime was very well done, although there was only 24 episodes and then they canceled it in the show pretty early. So they don't capture the whole story in animation, but it was a beautifully animated. So and then this is Oscar. And then she was born as a female, but it's a she grown up as a the male to be like the male military person to the girl Marie Antoinette. So and then this is also again like an costume that gives the male power. And then also that she had a struggle the whole through the time in the story that first she was like I'm a male, and then towards the end, and then she just completely flip, and then that give it up the who really she is. So that that kind of interesting. But in so 60s and 70s, the female to be the fighting girls that needs the costume and needs to gain that the masculine power through the costume. So, and I think that's why I say it's very interesting that on Sailor Moon, they also have like a very wonderful costumes, right? But they maintain the girlness, girl power, and cuteness, and then yet they're still very strong to fight with the dark side. And then so I'm for this presentation, I'm trying to make trying to avoid the kind of like an male gaze female fighting character, and then I'm gonna get burned from so many people because it's done Nausicaa was a Valley of the Wind, or Kaze no Tani no Nausicaa in 1984. That was the first the comics made by the Miyazaki, and then later he made it to the animation movie. So, and then I would say the Miyazaki's female heroes, that are almost always the female is the main character, but it's and it all strong, and all beautiful. But I still feel like that is the Miyazaki's. I feel the Miyazaki's the male gaze, and then the seeing like idealized female thing, and Nausicaa is a very very the good example of the ideal female fighting, the fighting girls used by a male gaze, and of course like the voice of the Nausicaa is the biggest female, then the heroine character voice. So I guess that's very interesting. But okay, then I'm gonna talk about the go back to the female gaze, male gaze. So next one is a revolutionary girl Utena, or Shoujo Kakume Utena. So it is very evolutionary in that way. So this is the 90s. Utena was created by the team or the creator of a Sailor Moon. So, and it's beautifully animated. It's long. It's like a 46 episode. But the reason I said it's very evolutionary is the those costume gender role was very well played in here. So then this is Utena, that she wants to be, she wants to be the hero, wants to save the world. And then so anyways, I'm going to show the little video. And then this is the opening of the Utena. It shows the world of the Utena very well. Also, like there is a suggestion of a Takarazuka a lot. So hopefully it's not too loud. It's too loud. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so how am I doing in a time-wise?
Maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes,
Okay.
maybe 5.
Okay. I am I guess the the Precure series is 2 more series. So then then it's gonna be the Precure series. So Precure is a Pretty Cure series from 2004. This is the longest running the Mahou Shoujo series animation. Yes.
What was it about Utena that you wanted to mention? The kind of gender performances or the
Yeah, then so the Utena is sorry. Can I go back? Okay, so that in this video that sorry, in this series, so that Utena dressed up like boys, right? But then towards the end of the episode, towards the end of the series, there is an incident that that audience will realize that makes me aware that she is a female. And then I mean, rather than for me to say that, I mean, I want that if you guys can, Utena is actually that you can see whole episode in YouTube. Just have to type in Utena. So then you can see it. But also like there is a suggestion of like a LGBTQ homoerotic scenes between the male character, and then also forbidden love between I guess I'm going if I said it's secret, but the brother and sister. So it's all those, the forbidden things come out, and then Utena is trying to save all those things. But yeah, so maybe it's not the gender things, but it's that to me, it's like those costume things is well played, and then she's characters. Everybody, the people have to fight for her, and then to gain those it's very like a vague, but it's a special power or the status. So and then that she plays a role of that very submissive wives for those people who win the battle to gain her. But so then so the Utena wants to help that and release her from this submissive the female status. So it is very complex story.
right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's also very beautifully done.
yeah. I think it's such an interesting one that you mentioned. So I wondered, there's so many things to say about Utena. I wondered which one.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Okay, so now, oh wait, sorry. All right, Precure. I'm gonna go quick. So here, from Precure, there are 3 elements of the consist of Mahou Shoujo became very clear. That that there is a magical fairy pets mascot, and then colorful gadget devices, and then of course the transformation scenes, and then nanoli means self-introduction, and then also the catchphrase. So I don't know if I have a time to go through this, but so this is my favorite one from the Precure series, Heart Catch Precure. So there is like a mascot. There's all the mascot for the Precures, and then of course gadget is very important, and then also that's how that sponsor toy company makes some money. So every Mahou Shoujo comes with the gadget, and then I don't know, do I have a time to show one transformation section?
Let's do it.
Okay, all right, so sorry, I have to see the time. All right, sorry, I have to move to 11:18. Okay, there you go. So from here. So there's a gadget and there's a mascot. and here they always do or always identify who they are. Okay, and so on. So sorry. How can okay? So then let me see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, and then of course that Precure, they no longer be adult. They're just gonna be the their cure, no, their Q ultimate form, and then they're all, you know, it's, everything that what I dream about, you know, strong girls. They're cute, they're pretty, they're still, you know, the 14 years old, and then they also then the significant things about Precure was they fight. This very physical fight. So I use an so they use a Sentai the style fighting. So it's like a female, you know, the girl version of an Sentai series. That is a Precure. So then I'm gonna go to the Madoka Magica. 2011. So I Madoka series is whole series is 13 episode is available in the Netflix. So I'm sure like many of you guys know about Madoka, but I wanted to note it out that Madoka has everything that um, the Mahou Shoujo need, which is you know that supposedly, you know, cute mascot, or in this case scary mascot character, and then a gadget soul gem, right, to give the power, which actually contains that their power, and then of course a cute the transformation scene, and also the cute outfit. So everything is you need for the magical girls you see in the Madoka. However, the darkness of the Madoka is I think it's very interesting. This is the first Mahou Shoujo series to talk about like the consequences of being an Mahou Shoujo, dark side, and then what to come to the end after, you know, that being an Mahou Shoujo and then the use of power. So I think that's why this is very remarkable. And then yes, if you have not seen it, please watch it. And then the uh, Netflix. There's also movies, but yeah, that that would be the next episode. So I was gonna supposed to talk about my work, so I'm gonna do very quickly. So using this three item, the Mahou Shoujo. So this is my slightly older work from 2011's author. So this is so that this Arthur series that I used and bunch of the female, I mean, especially that Japanese girls, that Japanese females that are stereotype images, and you can't really see their faces because it's what we're seeing about the stereotypes. We can only see outline, and we can really get to that their faces. So whole this series, there is a bunch of the character, but you don't really see their face. It's only outlines illuminated from outside. So this is Farik girls. So then the two girls, they are doing some like an about to transform, or they just transformed because they're wearing schoolgirls uniforms, sailors, and then this is a more like a more contemporary version. But so this has a suggestion that they have a power, and then this is another shot of their magic stekis magic wand. And then I use for these character, I use their the schoolgirls uniforms as a symbol of the power to hold. And then they might not fighting with you know the bad people, but spirit, but the uniform itself holds the magic power. Yeah. And then this is even this is the previous the photo series I did before the author, which is ex post facto. So basically for this series, the idea come from that the time traveling and then going back to that World War II time, and then my mother's side, and then my maternity grandfather was went missing in during a combat in during the World War II. So, and then supposedly we received the family received an note of that he died, but it was never clear that he really died. He went missing. So hold the time that my family was saying, oh, he might come back some days, right? So then and then he holds us so much like an the masculine the existence in our family, and then after he was went missing for so many years, my grandmother and my mother have to deal with it, and then the life without the father figures, very big masculine figure. So my to me that he was like a very mythical figure that maybe exists, maybe no longer exists. So my childhood dream was going back to the time, and then finding him in a battlefield, and then bring him back. Even if that would probably change my existence. So that's why the titles are called X Post Factor. So, but since I was a kid, my dream as a girl, being a girl soldier, to going back in time and save him and bring back him, was I was thinking about like an old Girl Scout uniforms. So that's why in this series I'm wearing like a 1940s and 1960s the vintage Girl Scout uniforms. So, and this is also like let's say if he's dead, so then my other dreams to find his the area that he died, so then make the grave for him. So, and then I made at the end of this series is I made the photo of each character. So each character have a meaning. That different girl soldier to going back, like a three variation of that girl soldier to go back and help my grandfather. So um, then, so that is my presentation. But I just want to say very quickly for the going back to the fighting girls, that my special recommendation is Gunbuster or Topo Nirai. So if you has not seen it, everybody must see episode, especially episode number 6. Everything is a black and white, and it's such a significant way to end that story. And then other recommendation is if you has not seen it, this is pretty recent. It's that Kemuriksa from 2019. So these are also like a different format of fighting girls, but these are very, those two special recommendation is a very good the example of fighting girls. So I guess thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I went over time, I think.
No, it's not. We've been going over. This is kind of how we do it. It's really no big deal.
Okay.
Actually, my Mayumi should add that my mom got this for me for
Oh my
Christmas.
God.
Guess what it is, though? You'll never guess.
Jealous.
First of all, you can open it up. There is a mirror inside.
Wow.
You can push the button, and it tells you the charge that's left. It's an external phone charger.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I know.
So good. So good. Yeah. And yeah, these gadget will give us a, I don't know, like it's no sense of power, but it maybe sense of power. It's also you can maintain all the girlness. You don't have to dress like a boys to gain a special power. Yeah. So that's why magic the Mahou Shoujo is awesome. So
Mayumi-san, where's your cat? Where's your mascot?
my mascot, well, I'm in my studio. So
Your
here,
cat.
this is my pink dolphin is sitting is on my printer. So the pink dolphin is mascot in my studio. So
I love it. Yeah, I know. Usually, when I have Zoom meetings with Mayumi, when she's not in her studio, I see this big cat come walking across the screen and just
yeah,
sit down right in front all the time. So I wondered wondered where they were today. But
Mm,
knowing we
no.
have about 15 minutes, I think
Okay.
actually this is perfect. Thank you so much. No one took too much time. I think this is great. And I wish we had more, honestly. But let's welcome back Mamie and Hanako, and we can all just kind of chat together. And everyone in chat, this is definitely the opportunity to ask anything you've been wanting to ask all night, to ask things that haven't been addressed at all. If you have any questions for any of these artists about their work, about their perspectives, about their experiences, about current events, everything's on the table. So respectfully on the table.
I'm gonna start welcoming people back in. I also told Anya girl who's in chat, you should come back to the Zoom.
Mayumi, I feel like, did you say you're deinstalling something today or installing something?
I'm deinstalling. It's actually like the parts of my work that I just deinstalled today. Yeah, the today was the last day of my show at the Ignition project. But I'm also have another show in Michigan City in just about like a month and a half from now. So
Well, and again, we've posted links so you can find each of these artists both on their social media accounts and on their website. So if you want to see their work in person, whether that be in Portland or Seattle or Chicago or the internet, there's lots of different opportunities. So welcome back to everyone. I'm watching chat. I wanted to say, I think it's interesting. My first feedback from hearing all of you talk is that mirrors kind of seem to have a common commonality throughout history. Mirrors make their way back in from Amaterasu all the way into these magical girl conversations of the 70s and 80s. I wonder if there's any correlation there, but
I don't want to speak first.
anyone wanna? Well, I think it's the for the first what was that the Akko-chan, who is the first Mahou Shoujo with a mirror gadget. That is, I think it's done. At that time, it was just a girl mirror is such a the best friend, right? We see it every day to do the makeup, and then so maybe that's why it's the go well with Mahou Shoujo, and then also that in all those the mythical stories too.
Yeah, I thought it's very interesting that when you bringing up the mirror, and oh yeah, my dorm is I used a two-way mirror film that I didn't think connection between the Mahou Shoujo used it and me and oops, I have a still little girl mentality. It's gonna
no,
kind
not
of
even
feeling.
that. Just thinking, one of the three sacred items, thinking back to Shinto, we've got the jewel and we've got the mirror and thinking how like, over time mirrors seem to have really held on in importance. I think it's interesting. Not that you're a little girl, unless you want to be.
No. But also I thought it's kind of like interesting that in the towards the end of Edo period, Sarah, you may know that there is a Chinese magic mirror, actually real mirror that they use Christian people, like hidden Christian people. They can't have a like a statue of any Christianity, so they had a mirror that when they have a lights coming through, project Saint Mary or like Jesus on the wall, and that was the mirror has a kind of secret power for these people, and I didn't connect that to as kind of gadget in the way, right?
That's true. That is true. Yeah. Well, I don't know how chatty chat is, but if you all also have questions for one another, I mean, I'm sure that's fair game. Um, I think it's really interesting that, this has been such a strange crash course in Japanese feminism that I think has been really interesting from all of your unique perspectives. I wonder if you all could explore something that we hadn't looked at today. Is there something else that you wish we could have jumped into?
Gundam.
Gundam. For feminism?
It's kind of like when Masumi was talking about Studio Ghibli, and Miyazaki. Miyazaki is a person who made all women's empowered in the hero positions. And then I remember Sari-chan, the Megi-chan, like I gave a song.
Yeah.
But I went to, in 80s, I went to a Gundam to empower myself. Actually, instead of continue watching girls, Mahou Shoujo, because in the Gundam, I know Derek loved the Gundam, but I'm the mania, and but for this kind of serious, not the Sentai type of things, but the Gundam was one of the first serious robot in the technology in the way at the time for talking about fighting with a robot in the real way, feeling it's more real. And then the women's in this Gundam series, it's very independent. They're very strong. And then none of other animation pictured the women's in the way how they struggle, be a shadow of male character in the Gundam, but they became to be empowered to control couple different mobile suits, the robot. And I thought I went there, that part is in Mahou Shoujo. So just a thought, Gundam.
They're making a live action Gundam for the Netflix, right? Yeah, I know. I did the same reaction too, like, oh no.
So we do have a question for Mayumi in chat. They would like to know your thoughts about Ray Earth being a precursor to Madoka Magica, ending of the first year when they rescue the princess and have to kill her.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Derek, is this more familiar to you? Did I say those names correctly?
Ray Earth,
I've
not seen it.
Ray Earth.
So Ray Earth was aired that year that I moved to United States. So I didn't see it. So I'm not, I only know the opening. Sorry that I'm not a good person to answer that question. Maybe Seira-san, do you know Ray Earth?
I don't know. Although, but we can say Casper, who's in chat, who loves Gundam, by the way, he'd be a great person in this chat, is reminded of strong female quote unquote commander types, also in Macross, Robotech, and Evangelion.
Well, what was that? The Toppo Nerai is that's the I think it's just one of the rare robot anime. The girl is the main character, right? But it's I don't know, the Mami-san, do you remember there's any like a female main character in a Gundam series rather than sub character? Or
yeah, like couple, of course, some section in the Gundam, the women's took a main role, not entire story, but some sections of like there's a part that Sarah, it's the sister of the opponent, became to be a main part of the story. So they struggle how to be a first person in the story. You can see how Sarah struggled and I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, and she did it and failed. She did it and failed. The kind of like situation, and so I felt it's very real experience that we also have. We like to prove ourselves, and then sometimes failed, and they do again and they failed. I felt that kind of feelings to her and other female character in Gundam. In the way, they're always kind of shadow, but I was able to see, or not only me, even anime characters, um, some people show the struggle for that. Yeah.
When bringing up Gundam, would it in some ways I almost want to draw sort of a maternal parallel with the some of the protagonists that are in the series. I notice a lot of the times for some of the other seasons and other shows, since there's so many different Gundam ones, oftentimes you would see most of the male characters being embodying the role of being pilots, with the exception of maybe one or two other female characters, like Gundam Unicorn recently was a pretty good example of that. But a lot of the times you would also see women in the position of political power and sort of fighting for whatever planet or military force that they were representing, that being sort of the stage that they primarily represented within the show, and then sort of advocating for whatever military force, be that the mobile suits or Zeon, and always at odds with each other. But it was always interesting. I think about that Unicorn and even Gundam Wing, where the sort of this sort of maternity is at play. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I was long time. I was kind of deny the, you know, the Gundam was original Gundam. So I kind of denied watching these for a long time, and then like watching it recently, and I'm like, whoa, it's a different. Yeah, and then I think spirits of, it's amazing to think about spirits of this, like a Gundam is, and the Macross, and I know the directors are males, and if but they somehow able to capture women's role in the ideal and also not ideal, both way, and then political roles, if women took that, how it's look like, the kind of things. So it's pretty amazing to see. But sorry, I shouldn't start with Gundam story. We should stay with Mahou Shoujo. So, but the Sailor Moon, like I noticed the author of the comic writer of the Sailor Moon, the mangaka, she is a wife of the Togashi, Mr. Togashi, who is the author of the Hunter x Hunter. And then Togashi has mentally like not stable often. So when he's not well, she made illustration oftenly for him, and then keep Hunter x Hunter keep going. And then in the real world, she is successful woman, but also she kept not only Sailor Moon, but she kept Hunter x Hunter going too. I thought that's kind of interesting to think about that way.
Well, Mina-san, we've kind of reached our last minutes of the hour before we need to turn things over to Van. I let Van know that we have one more burning question that we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to answer. And that's from Photography Bonsai in chat. Thank you so much for always being so active in chat. Is there a story or is there a story direction you'd all like to see the magical girl genre go? Madoka Magica took it dark, but is there something else? And I feel like I could expand upon that question and say, between Hanako, Mamie, Mayumi, considering the art that you create and the stories that have influenced it, if you could think of a way to expand on the magical girl genre, what would that look like for you?
That would be, I have not seen a magical girls with older female. there is so many varieties now. There's a there is what was a Mahou Shoujo Ore, means that there's is the boy, that a boy become the Mahou Shoujo, and then they don't even transform. They're it's like a male. It's really like a masculine male, but they're wearing they're transformed. They're wearing those colorful outfit, and then they're Mahou Shoujo. Or even like an the male becomes the not Mahou Shoujo, but it's a the similar one. There's so many things, but I haven't seen like a person at my age transforming in and become the I don't know, it's not Mahou Shoujo, Mahou,
Jose.
yeah. So the age is the one that I have not seen. I haven't seen any other version. Gender, gender change, or gender enhancing. That even like an alien becomes a Mahou Shoujo, right? That's one of the precure. There was one of the aliens character became the one of the precure. So yeah, but I haven't seen older women becoming. I think the older one that I remember was Heart Catch Precures, and she was a high school girl. And then also there's a mention of some series that one of their mother used to be the precure, but they're not active precure. So the age, I want to see the age variation.
I would have to agree with that, and I also think that the trope that we see a lot too is that they don't age, like they are constantly 14, and then
Yeah.
and then and then there's no trope of like the like kind of like the kira kira like why like happy side of the whole maho as women get older. As soon as women get older, it becomes like the dark oni like depressing stuff, and it's like why does becoming an adult and taking on responsibility and like actually being able to challenge things that are bigger than just like romance and school, like why does that have to be so depressing? I think that can also be like hopeful and magical and like awesome. And so I guess like I'd like to see these Mahou Shoujo, these like amazing girls, see how they actually mature into amazing women and like still maintain their like beautiful, exciting, and also like positive magic.
I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Mamie, what do you think?
Oh no, I really thinking about what Hanako said. So, that's the reason I have to move this country after a certain age to believe I can pass a dream, because even women start criticize others if you are pursuing. But if it's happened, in the anime or manga world in Japan to empower, not the girl, but the women has a power to do a lot. It's really great. And then I don't know what kind of format, but it would be great to see it too, so.
Yeah, I want to add in that one of the things in terms of empowerment, in specifically identifying the empowerment of any marginalized group, be that LGBTQIA plus, BIPOC women, the list goes on. I would love to see a sort of Mahou Shoujo show, or even see that intersection crossover into Sentai, where you might see these individuals gain certain abilities, not based in, say, any sort of completely unreachable like magical form. Maybe it takes an analysis of talking about the moments of transformation, or talking about the tools or components that they use to transform, and make a commentary on that. And so maybe it's a Mahou Shoujo Sentai series where you might physically see the person go run into the alley and pull their tools out of their backpack, and like put their armor on, and it's handmade, and it's it's clunky and it's very visibly, there might be parts that are duct taped together, but you are seeing this individual gain their ability in ways that viewers might be able to really attach themselves to it, and there's less of the hurdle of you too can become Usagi, and you too can become these other characters in other series, but maybe less of a hurdle in the way of like, you can really become this person. I wouldn't suggest you going out and becoming a vigilante and fighting crime, but you can attain some of the physical adeptness or intelligence or charisma that any of these individuals might maintain, and to have it become, I don't know, maybe that series is funny, maybe it's commentative, maybe it's dark in some ways, but watching those things happen, maybe like the movie Kick-Ass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in some ways.
I love that, Derek. And I feel like trust Derek to actually make it real, by the way. Derek could make something like this happen as a designer and animator. So yeah.
All of this conversation here, absolutely, like it's an utter inspiration. There are so many things. Hanako, I wish I could work with you somehow to make a video game out of the entire Izanami storyline, because that would be something amazing to see. That needs to be an animation of its own, a movie of its own. All of these conversations about representation of Mahou Shoujo need to be seen. And Mayumi, what you brought up in terms of some of those tropes in age, age is such a big one for me when it comes to consumption of anime and the characters that we are relating to. To some extent, people, feeling affections for certain characters and forgetting that the age is still persistent throughout all of it.
Absolutely. And I feel that, as we've ended all of our last episodes, we've kind of alluded to the next one building on what we've already done here. And the next episode will be no different for our Anime Central contribution this year. The topic will be fantasy to fan fiction Orientalism in art. So we will build on this conversation and how it's in consumer culture and in mass media and in the things that we take in every day, and how we can be more critical thinkers of those forms of media. So to that end, everyone here, I feel like I cannot thank you all enough. This has been so wonderful. Derek and I guess I can only speak for myself, have known you all, in some facet, but I've never really been able to get the opportunity to see your work and what you're doing personally and the things that matter to you on a really personal level. It's such a treasure to share those things with you, and I really appreciate your candor so much. And I hope we can do this again. And I hope everyone in chat goes to each one of these individuals' websites and sees more about their work and their process, and just jump in. If you have any questions, if you forgot how to get a hold of them, we're here for that. I can help. We can help. So yeah. And not to forget that any moment now, we will be switching over to Van Paugam, who has a very Sailor Moon City Pop set for you rolling up. Some Sailor Moon energy and some lunar energy, I think is what he was saying, something like this. So and say Venus and everyone else who is in chat for the first time today, thank you so much. You all in chat are really kind of what we're here for, so your interaction is really what makes this so meaningful and important, so thank you so much. So enough of that. We will see you in a month. You know where to find us on social media. You know where to find all the things. Thank you to all of our guests. You guys are amazing. Over to Van.
Over to Van. Those of you who are at home and are familiar with how we do things, I will bring the stream down, but then we will just send it over to Van's channel, so you don't actually have to go anywhere. But yes, one big round of thank yous again to everybody who came here and sharing your insight, your experience, and your amazing creative works. And chat, see you next time.